I'll be unhappy if you do this. But the happiness comes from following Krishna's instructions. That is the happiness. We have to be happy either by satisfying the mind. Mind is never happy. It will come up with different proposals all the time. And so it's very difficult. Mind, and it keeps changing also. One day you feel happy doing something, another day you don't feel, like moods keep varying. But Krishna is not like that. So, and then in verse 35, Krishna says, just a minute, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swaminati Namne Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayani Gaurkatha Dhamdaya Nagar Gram Tarini Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvisesh Sunyavadi Paschat Deshtarne Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Then Krishna is saying, it is far better Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swa Anushtithat Swadharme Nidanam Shreyaha Paradharmo Bhayavaha. It's far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than an other's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in an other's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. So why is it like that? That whatever is one's prescribed duty, that is what one should do. Because it is follows some psychobiological nature. That is why. And the whole purpose of doing work is not that we do it fantastically and we are superb in it. No, that's not the point. The whole point, as you can see, is that we have to rise up to the position of satisfying Krishna. That is the most important thing. And so whatever comes naturally, that, and then we can concentrate more on pleasing Krishna. If we get more involved or more give attention to doing something that is against, it's very difficult. It's not our nature. Say, for example, somebody who, today's world, we keep seeing that different people have different natures, but everybody tries to do the same thing, because whatever gives you maximum, say in finance, whatever money, whatever gets you the best paying jobs, that's what everyone wants to do. But we find that some people are naturally very good in it. They don't have to struggle. And somebody else may have a different nature. Maybe he's Brahmin, maybe he's supposed to be a priest. Of course, he will have the brains, but not the inclination. So he may do it because he can do better than Isha who's doing finance. A Brahmana may have more intelligence to do the thing. He may be better in it, but he won't be happy. It won't, because his nature, because the nature of a Vaishya is to, think about money, make profits and all that. And somebody who's Brahmanically inclined may be better as, a professor or something which doesn't require so much of competition. This is not his nature. It's more in the mode of goodness. So that is why Krishna says it's better to work according to your nature rather than trying to, even if you can do another job better to stick to your own prescribed duties, or even Kshatriya and a Brahmana. See, somebody joined the armed forces and he is very Brahmanical in nature. And then he goes to the war field and then suddenly he thinks, oh, I don't feel like killing. Why should we kill? Just like Arjuna suddenly became very saintly and he said, I don't feel like killing. But you have to have that, the nature of a Kshatriya. They just, they're okay to fight. They're not thinking too much. So that is why Krishna says one should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Materially, prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties even up to the death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. So even in spiritual duties, whatever has been given to us, that's what we should do. We should not try to imitate another person thinking, oh, they're doing bigger things, let me try to do that. No. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different. Principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. So that is why everyone has to cleanse his heart. So the point of doing work is not just to earn money and have a good time. That also happens. But the main thing is everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. So the whole point of work is for self-realization. Just see, this is what was considered the most important thing. And if that is the goal, then all the other things also automatically get fulfilled. Taking care of your body, doing your duty of, taking care of your family and whatever other obligations are there, automatically it gets fulfilled. Patient, why? So that, according to your psychophysical nature, and that you can perform very well also without much effort. You should enjoy your work. If money is the only criteria, but then they may not enjoy the work. So then they'll be miserable. Okay, money is the only thing which gives them happiness. And however, when one is the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana. Whereas Parashurama was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendently situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on the material, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. So that is what, and another example is first building the building in Mayapur. Then what happened? And because at that time in Bengal, communists were in power. And most of the time, the laborers will strike work. They'll something or the other. Either the whole state will be under strike or all the, workers together or all masons together. Every now and then. Right? And so, but work had to go on. First of all, every cement was in shortage. Somehow, with great difficulty, you get the cement, and then laborers will strike work. So, in this way, Prabhupada had an urgency to complete it in record time. So, what he would once what happened, the sannyasis, take the cement on your head and go give. We are transcendental, we can do that. So imagine sannyasis, they are not meant for labor work because they've renounced everything that, on the transcendental platform. But on the transcendental platform, it's okay. They're not identifying themselves with any particular varna, so they can do that work. So we saw that, normally if you tell a Brahmana do some work like that, labor's work, they won't agree. Brahmana sometimes just for the job's sake, if he doesn't have enough money, any job to support himself, then he can do the work of a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, but he should not do. This is not because superior, inferior, nothing like that. Psychobiological nature. So that is what is being considered. And the whole purpose of the Varnashrama system is so that we can realize God. That is why Krishna, and it is not watertight compartments, that it is not based on birth at all. It is based on what is your psychobiological nature. In the same family, different people may have different natures. So it is according to that. Krishna, it is not by birth. So we can see how very scientific, and Krishna did not create it so that some people feel superior over others. This class consciousness, that was not the purpose. Okay, then we are going to this particular, Krishna concludes his explanation of Karma Yoga by warning Arjuna not to give up his prescribed duties, though there may be some imperfection. And because everyone is supposed to act according to his nature, Arjuna, so this is why till now, because Krishna says that in the previous verse, it's far better to, no, that's what we did now.
Muktaji, your head is visible, not whole face.
Okay. Yes, can you see me now? Okay. Sorry.
Yes, Mataji, no, it's okay.
So Krishna is saying that we have all some natures. According to our nature, we should act. And what is the ultimate goal of that job? It is for understanding that we are transcendental to the body. Imagine that is the goal. Then he says, so now Arjuna is asking, why are we forced to act sinfully? Even though we know all that, people do act, sinfully. What is the reason? Even we don't want, still, sometimes you're forced to act like that. And Krishna answers him, how and what is our eternal enemy? And that is lust. And he says, we can conquer lust by working in Krishna consciousness with steady intelligence, fixed in the knowledge of one's pure identity. So that is why it's very important. And today we see people are not doing for self-realization. They're just wanting money and they just want to enjoy their senses. And so people are driven by lust to do all kinds of sinful activities. So we can see the truth in what Krishna is saying. Text 36. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So, so this is what, this is the perverted nature. You don't want to do it. Although the living entities are blissful by nature, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. So because we have misused our independence, Krishna, he gives us independence either to choose to love him or to serve him or to serve Maya. And so because we have chosen to serve Maya, that original love which we have for Krishna transforms itself into lust, which is in the mode of passion. But again, lust can be transformed into love for Krishna when we start connecting the work with Krishna. So
connecting the work with Krishna means because we are serving Maya only, doing materialistic duties. So doing all these things, not serving the Lord. Job, is it Maya only?
yeah, but that is how we connect with Krishna by working in the mode of goodness. That means we do our job very nicely. We're not all the time thinking of more money, or competing with others and saying why they're doing less, why they're earning, or doing politics. We do we depend on Krishna, we think Krishna, we do the job so that Krishna will be happy. So Krishna is saying he's very happy when we do even a material job very nicely. See, that's a very good incentive, isn't it? Even if you're just doing some, anything it can be, even for your family members, say you cook food for them. And sometimes they may not like what you're cooking, even you take all the trouble. But you know, if you can't say, oh, nobody appreciates, so I'm going to stop cooking, right? You have to try and do your best. And you think about Krishna and you chant his names, you offer it to him. And like that, then what happens? Krishna is satisfied. And gradually, what happens is, because Krishna is satisfied, you'll be satisfied, everybody will be satisfied. So, in the same way, um, this is how you can satisfy Krishna. Just by whatever is your prescribed work, you're going to work, you're going to the office, whatever job you're doing, you think about Krishna, and you'll feel inspired to do the work nicely, with devotion. If you forget Krishna, then you'll feel bored with the job, and all kinds of thoughts will come in your mind, and then you'll get distracted, and you won't feel like putting the full effort, and you'll think, why should I work for these people? They are so selfish. I mean, so many things. The mind can get distracted. You may think, oh, so much work, I just want to finish fast and then rush off, or you'll cut corners, or you may be bored to do your job. But if you think of Krishna, then you'll get new ideas also to do your job very well. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great Acharya in our line, and he was the High Court judge. No, magistrate actually, not High Court. Because during the British, that is the maximum an Indian could become. So he was a magistrate, and because he was chanting Hare Krishna mantra, he were always connected with Krishna. He could give judgments very soon. He knew what is right, wrong, and none of his judgments were ever surpassed, or what do you call, nobody kind of, uh, um, nobody, what do you say, it didn't go to a higher court. Nobody challenged that. So, and very quickly he finished his job, and then he had time for doing so many other things. He was so busy, he's contributed so much. So in that way, you also get the intelligence from Krishna, how to do your job well, easily, quickly, so that you don't have to, because Krishna doesn't want us to spend too much time on material work just for maintaining our body. He wants us to be more, act on the platform of the soul. That's our eternal position. So he'll help in so many ways so that quickly we can do our material jobs. So Arjuna, Krishna is saying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, O Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So we already saw in the second chapter how, because of being attached to something, and then from attachment, lust develops, and unfulfillment of lust turns into anger. So that is why he's saying it is lust only, Arjuna. That is our worst enemy, which is born of the contact, due to lust, born of the mode of passion, turning into anger, and our pure consciousness covered by different degrees of lust. Therefore, so everything is coming from Krishna. And here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage. Everything, when it is used in the service of Krishna, gets purified. So here also, the Lord is inducing Arjuna to engage his anger upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. So, in the same way that Hanuman also, he was so angry because Ravana was, insulted Ram. And so he wanted to teach him by punishing him by, burning up Lanka. But it was very controlled anger. It was not just, anger which was, when we are really angry, we lose control and we just do things excessively. But Hanuman was perfectly controlled because he only set fire to those places of Asura's homes. Then he very carefully checked where Sita was. Ashokavan, he didn't go. Vibhishna's home, he didn't burn like that. So, but he used it in Krishna's service. Then what happens? We can have perfect control. So that is how you can overcome that. If he also says, wrath or anger is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If, therefore, the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. So that is what we make it good in the mode of goodness by our lifestyle and everything. Whatever work we are doing, if we think of Krishna and do that, then gradually we are elevated in our consciousness instead of becoming mode of ignorance and getting angry and so on. Can you think of a mode of passion activity which we can, elevate, how we can purify it? What is some activity we all like doing, which is actually mode of passion? For example, going out with friends and maybe we went, we used to like going out to restaurants and then eating all kinds of food with friends and so on. So that is a nature, that's a desire to a social life, right? We're all social by nature, we want friends. But then if we just indulge that, then what happens slowly, our because when we go out with friends, then they want to do normally whatever is the lowest thing, that only gets. If somebody says, "Oh, let us go and to a Bhagavad Gita class," nobody will agree. But somebody says, "Hey, let's try some alcohol. Let's go to a bar." Everybody will say, "Yes, yes." So that's what happens. So one person has to say that, and then everyone will think, "Oh, I shouldn't be a spoiled sport. I should do." So gradually you get degraded. But on the other hand, suppose you choose friends, who are like mode of goodness, and then they say, okay, let's go to the temple, or let's go and to a satsang, and let's eat prasadam, and let's go and sing and dance in the temple instead of going to the bar or to the disco and all that. Let's go there and dance and sing. So then what happens? You get purified. The same social activity of meeting, being with friends, of having good food. Go to a Govinda's restaurant and eat with your friends instead of going to some non-vegetarian joint and with alcohol, and the whole atmosphere is like that. So that is how we can purify. The activity becomes in the mode of goodness and we progress. Then he is saying about, as fire is covered by smoke, as mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of lust. So he's comparing how the lust is covering us. As fire is covered by smoke means it's only a thin covering, right? You can see the fire, the smoke is there, but you can see the this thing, fire. And because the heat and light you can still use it, it's not fully smoke. When a mirror is covered by dust, the covering is thicker. We cannot see the reflection. At least we can see the mirror. Okay, there is a mirror, but we cannot see our reflection so clearly because of the dust. And the thickest of covering is around the embryo, right? Embryo is inside the womb, and you cannot see the child at all. And the child within the womb, it cannot move or be seen. So compares that lust, that is like an embryo covered by the womb, to be like trees. Trees are just standing there without, they can't move. They don't have, any consciousness. Little bit is there, because they undergo a lot of pain when you chop them off and all that. And that is what, Dr. Bose, he recorded, right? He proved that actually plants have souls and they have feelings and so on. And many people who are engaged in growing plants, they say that when you are very loving to it, when you are really, take care of them very nicely, then they're so happy and they grow so big. So, but they don't have much consciousness in the sense they cannot understand anything. They cannot see, just they're standing there, that's all. So there they are compared to so much of lust is covering them. So those non-moving entities such as trees are compared to that much. Then the dust-covered mirror is like birds and bees, because you can see that they have life, the soul part of it, because they're also born and they also grow, and then they have family life, everything, and they also defend themselves and they die. So all that happens to human beings, but also there for birds and animals. But still, they cannot understand most things. They're very much covered. And the smoke covered fire is to the human form. And in the human form of life, Prabhupada says one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under the able guidance of a spiritual master. See, if you tell the animals, now don't go and kill animals. I mean, why you behaving like, why you so cruel? If you tell a tiger or if you tell a dog, don't eat non-vegetarian, the dog will not understand. Or you tell it about God, you know who you are, you're a soul. Dog will just blink at you, it won't understand anything. But a human being has got the, qualification to understand these spiritual matters. And so that is why it is compared to a smoke covered by fire. And then this enemy lust is described much more in the next verse. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So it's never satisfied. Sometimes you think that maybe, if you just fulfill, like in the Western countries, this is what they believe, that you should not stop anything. Whatever you desire, you should fulfill. Then only you'll be happy. But are you satisfied? No, it just burns like anything. And then you want more and more of it. That is the nature of lust. For example, in Western countries, right from childhood, people are given full freedom to engage in sex. And in fact, small children are taught about sex right from primary school. And they are also told that if your parents restrict you in any way, you can just call us and we will come and protect you. Imagine, this is the kind of um, mentality they have. And so in spite of that, one would think that, oh, because they all are very satisfied, there's so much freedom, so they won't have any rapes. But you'll be surprised. They don't tell us openly, but actually have the highest level of rapes happen in America. So why should they rape? Anyway, there's so much freedom. So because lust is never fulfilled or satisfied, it just burns. The more, for example, if fire is burning and you put more ghee in it, okay, let me fulfill the fire and then it will stop. No, it will never stop. It will burn more and more and more. So that is how it is. That's why, which is never, Krishna says, that's the wise living entity. All of us are wise, pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So, advancement in the so therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer, because it just degrades our consciousness. It makes us completely, under the control of our modes, and we don't even know what we are doing, and we get angry, we commit so many sinful acts, the violence and so many other things because of this. Now Krishna is telling where to find this lust, right? um, he's saying the senses, where is lust stored in the body, or mind or intelligence, he is telling us, so that if we know where the enemy is taken shelter of, then we can, tackle the enemy. So he's saying the senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So the enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul. And Krishna is giving hints of what are those places. Mind is the center of all activities of the senses. And thus, when we hear about sense objects, the mind generally becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification, right? We hear about something that's very nice, and immediately the mind starts imagining, oh, I wish I could, enjoy that. So that is the first place, sitting place of lust. So mind and senses. So mind is thinking how to enjoy through the senses. So they both become their lust is stored. Next, the intelligence department becomes a capital of such lustful propensities. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter. So intelligence is also of two types. One is material intelligence, another spiritual intelligence, which is of the soul. Now, because we are covered with lust, intelligence is also covered with lust. It is identifying fully with the body, and it's making the soul. Actually, intelligence is the next door neighbor of the soul. And the intelligence can become spiritualized and elevate the mind in order to, serve the soul, what is eternally good. But if it instead, because of lust covering the intelligence, it makes the soul identify with the body, and intelligence is giving many, many ways in which to enjoy more, then that degrades. For example, we know how Western technology, eh, they keep on refining and refining and refining. Why? Because they want to make it life more comfortable, more comfortable, more comfortable. And with the result, everything is geared towards just sense gratification. And we know once one goes there, of course, nowadays, ISKCON centers are everywhere, and there are many temples also. So even Indians living there, they feel, the futility of just being engaged in sense gratification. So they want spiritual, something to uplift them. But otherwise, when most of it, all your activity is based on sense gratification. And on the other hand, in India, every street has got so many temples, some puja or the other going on, some festival or the other. There is always, you hear, of course, that's becoming less and less nowadays. We hardly hear the sounds of worship and all that, but still there is a lot of such, vibrations. But their intelligence, I mean, in India, actually, all the intelligence was used for spiritual upliftment. All our great sages, acharyas, they were all brilliant. They knew, imagine learning so many shastras by heart. All the 4 Vedas they knew by heart. And it's not that they sat and mugged it up for a long time. Once they would hear from the Guru, and then that's it. It will stay in their brain. And they could recall from anywhere so perfectly. They could see the past, present, future. Mathematically, they were brilliant. Astronomy, everything. Such brilliance existed. And the thing is, that was for spiritual upliftment. And when the Westerners came, and the British came, that influence, and then, so after that, they were using all their intelligence for what? For sense gratification and industrial revolution. And then they made all these big, big buildings, and the cars and the roads and everything. And they started mocking India. Oh, you're a poor country, very simple, you're all very primitive. And Indians started believing that. Of course, by then we had also become impoverished, mainly because of our weakness. I mean, our spiritual, this thing had come down, our spiritual culture. And so we easily became, and because spiritual culture coming down means that we lost our spiritual values and we became just interested in our own selfish lives, whatever just for our sense gratification. So, because everyone was betraying one another, and that is how the British could easily conquer us. So with the Mughals, otherwise, how could they? India was such a strong country, and they were just a bunch of people who came here to attack. If all the kings had got together, they could have easily sent them packing. But because each one was thinking only of his own thing and they didn't mind betraying his own countryman by telling them all the secrets, so easily they conquered us. And with that, what happened? Our spiritual values were eroded so much. And we started thinking, oh, that is the better life, you know. And they really didn't understand that spiritual intelligence is far higher than material intelligence. And now, once the computer science became, you know, when IT field came up and Indians formed because of their sharp intelligence, which was used for spiritual things, and they could easily, they were very good in mathematics and all that. So many IT field everywhere, Indians are in demand. So materially also now we are getting the self-confidence over science and technology in all fields. We are also in par. It's nothing. Space technology, we've also gone to the moon and we are also sending satellites. Now Indians feel, oh yes, yes, we are actually a good civilization. We are civilized people. And something they are showing some interest again in spiritual values and our scriptures. So that is why if the intelligence is only used for sense gratification, it becomes degraded and covered with more and more lust and only for sense gratification, and it will not understand higher things. So Krishna says, therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So the very beginning only we must curb it. For example, so from the very beginning, from childhood, the Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. So that is why they used to send small children to Gurukulas, where they were, kept in a very strict, even if he's a king's son, but he was sent to a Gurukula where he had to lie down on the floor, very controlling your senses, very disciplined. Why? Why did they do that? Because then later on in life, they could be very self-controlled. Because childhood, whatever they are brought up, that will only, automatically they'll be able to, control themselves. Whereas now in today's world, they think that, oh, our former, generations, they were too strict. Now we can afford so many things. Let us pamper the children with all kinds of, um, you know, uh, comforts and luxuries, not just comfort, luxuries, and indulge them with all sorts of whatever they ask. And with the result, what's happening? They're becoming so weak, they cannot take any failure in life. They cannot face life at all. The minute there is any problem, they just crack up. They commit suicide even. So that is why, whereas earlier, if you see the Srimad Bhagavatam, so many kings, even if he's an emperor, he will send his children to go and do tapasya, then come back. So because that builds character. So that's why Krishna is saying, oh Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin lust by regulating the senses and slay the destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So it's this knowledge and Srimad Bhagavatam says knowledge of the self and the super self is very confidential and mysterious. But such knowledge and specific realization can be understood if explained with their various aspects by the Lord Himself. The Bhagavad Gita is clearly explaining what is the relationship between the soul and the super soul, Paramatma. Nobody knows. It's such a mysterious thing. But Krishna is giving that knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. And we can understand it only because the lust is covering our intelligence. We're not able to understand. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it's very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nevertheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life, or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, highest perfectional stage of human life. So even that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is made it so easy in this age that whatever, maybe you're the worst of criminals also, doesn't matter. Somehow, if you hear the holy names, Hare Krishna mantra, so powerful that especially for this age, he has made this concession that, because here it says, see, sitting places of lust, senses, mind, and intelligence, regulation of the senses, one can control lust, soul higher than all three and can control them. So with spiritual intelligence, we can conquer lust. And so our spiritual intelligence wakes up when we start chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And then what happens? We become strong. And the intelligence can control the mind and can stop it. No, this is not correct. Don't do it. And then the mind will obey because the intelligence is very strong. It's convinced. Mind will follow. And then because the mind is controlled, then the senses also will be controlled. So that is why we tackle everything from the top, the soul itself. Normally the yogis, jnanis, they start from bottom, control the senses, control the mind, do tapasya and all that. But in this age, we can't do all that. So Krishna gives us a wonderful method starting from the top. And what is that? You chant Hare Krishna, your soul wakes up. And not even, maybe the senses are all not doing all sorts of things, but still, whatever you may be, if you start chanting Hare Krishna, the soul wakes up. So when the soul wakes up, then you're feeling happy. And the intelligence also becomes sharper because intelligence is the next door neighbor of the soul. Spiritual intelligence becomes very strong. And then we can control the mind. We can give the reasoning why this is wrong. No, you should not do this. Then the mind becomes subdued. And if the mind is subdued, then senses are also subdued. So then, stop now. Yes. Any questions? Hare Krishna. And any questions?
Unmute. Hare Krishna Mataji. Deepti here.
Yes.
Mataji.
Deepti.
Yes, Mataji. So, but we say we should not have lust and all that, greed and all. But are they two different things? Like if you are in some, this is a competitive world, so you need to do competitions. So you have this urge to go ahead in life. So should we be content with what we are having, or is it all right? We just put up, we do attend competitions, or how is it?
You have to decide what is your life going to be. You should not be driven by what other people are doing. For some people, their target may be high or low according to what they want. But you should decide what you want. Not be driven by other people, what they're doing. Oh, my cousins, they do this, so I should do it. No. You decide. Or even your colleagues. Doesn't matter what they want, because you can't be driven by what they want. They want different things. you have to decide what is it that you want in life, and the balance and everything. You have to figure it out, and you then decide how much should I do so that I can be good in my job, whatever is required, that you decide. And that
Yes.
much you can definitely do.
Yeah, so that much we can give, that much space of like we can put up with the competition or whatever it is. Like if we have the urge to do something, then we can work on it than being complacent about it.
Yeah, in today's world, okay, you have to keep
Mm.
updating yourself, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
Mataji.
okay.
Okay.
That is the minimum required, isn't it?
Mhm.
Do your job, you require that, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji. Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Thank
but
you, Mataji.
yeah,
But
but you should
yeah, we
see,
should not get distracted. Yes, that's it.
yeah, and someone may be over ambitious, but we're not going to be driven by their ambitions, right? You
Yes,
know
ma'am.
what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and you can do that.
Yes, Mataji.
That's why this comparison is not a good thing, because some people, you may be thinking, oh, I want to, you may be quite happy also. Then somebody comes and then you see that they are doing more than you, and you feel very disturbed, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji.
And then you wish you can also do that. So that sort of thing should,
Yes.
unless we are fixed in our goal, we'll easily get distracted. And then somebody will say that, you know what, I'm thinking this job is all not okay, let me go abroad. Then you might think, oh, maybe I can also go abroad. So the shifting goals, your goals will keep shifted according to the people you associate with, isn't it?
Yes, Mataji. Okay, yes. That we should try to avoid. Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I have a doubt. As this Mataji was asking in today's competitive world, because of less, we are also in the competition and we need to do our own roles. So if this, and you gave the answer for this during explaining that shloka, and isn't this connected to the last class where you explained about the four types of yogas, karma yoga, sagama karma yoga, nishkama karma yoga, and bhakti yoga, where there is no detachment, one is not detachment, and there is no desire for result. Whatever you're doing, you are doing for Krishna. And
Yes.
result and work doesn't matter. Is it connected to it? I had a doubt over there.
What is that?
What you explained, is that connected to bhakti yoga?
Yeah, definitely. If you do, that's why if you're doing work, see, bhakti yoga is very easy, very sublime, and we can do it. We can achieve results faster, because if you are connected to Krishna and you think that I should do work if whatever Krishna wants, then automatically, you're satisfied, and then you are spiritually you are advancing. You'll give more weightage to that, isn't it, rather than material success. So that is the yoga ladder. In the beginning, karma kanda stage, we're just thinking how to get more and more, but even that is better than what is happening in this world, because karma kanda, you're doing sacrifices to please the Lord for material enjoyment. But in today's world, they are not even doing karma kanda. They just want to do hard work or do politics or whatever, just climb up and more and more and more. So that actually completely makes our mind very disturbed. And we see that people are not satisfied even by earning a lot of money and whatever position, still they're not happy. So that's why you should, and then or the health suffers, really, family relationships suffer, children suffer. What's the point of that kind of success? So for overall holistic success, we have to take shelter of Krishna. We have to go up the yoga ladder. Then you will see, without much difficulty, material prosperity will also be there, and a balanced life, good relationships, good children, social setup, everything will be very nice. Today, nobody has any happiness. There's hardly much social life as such. Everybody is just thinking of themselves, right? There's no time only in the weekends something, and that also they're so busy doing their own things. And all the social life is through WhatsApp, right? Or just so we're not able to live even a full material life, a complete, balanced, happy. No, we're not able to do that. Most of the time, our health is suffering because over endeavor. What's the use of all this competition, over endeavoring, and then you have ulcers and you have acidity, ulcer, then heart problem, cancer, everything. I mean, young people are getting it. It's an alarming rate it's happening. And when we were young, hardly we heard of cancer. If somebody got, very rare it was. And nowadays it's just become so common, isn't it? Young people are getting it. Back problems, spondylitis. Isn't it? Those things happen only in your 60s. And now it's happening right from 30s or even 20s, diabetes. So we have to decide, even materially speaking, if you're lopsided like that, only thinking of earning more, and then buying more gadgets and showing off to people, what's the use of that? So, but if you do yoga, definitely everything will be, and initially people may not understand how you're so contented, you should do more and more. And then when they see your life, how it is very peaceful, how all aspects of your life are fulfilled, then they will look up and say, oh, see, so wise this person is, everything about their life is they're so peaceful and happy. So we have to make the choice. We have to use our spiritual intelligence, right? Otherwise, even materially, even for material happiness, if you over endeavor, then, at the end of life, normally people say, what did I achieve? I could never give my time for my family. Is Salman Khan did that? No. Who is it? No, sorry, not Salman Khan. Who is that? Who's the other Khan? Who felt very bad that all the time he was just working and he never gave time to his daughter and all that. So he thinks I should be more balanced. So even materially, but if you do for Krishna, then balance will come automatically and everybody will be satisfied. So that is why we should do for Krishna. Then your whole life will be perfect, materially and spiritually.
Clear, Mataji. Very clear, very clear. Thank you, Mataji. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, will you ask some questions?
Yeah, it's already 9. I'll ask some 2 or 3 ones. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji? To summarize.
Okay, okay. So in the beginning, Mataji was telling, asking about this, what better to do your work according to your nature rather than imitating others. So in this, what did you all understand? Can you all explain that within just in 2 or 3 sentences? So according to our nature, it's better to do your work than rather than imitating others.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Mataji said a beautiful example about Brahmana going and fighting. Because of his feeble nature, he will feel that, no, I am reluctant, and he will feel that, why should I kill him? How others will suffer. So it shows the basic nature, whether there he is not mentally prepared for that Kshatriya nature. And after that, soon example of Vishwamitra and Parshurama Maharshi was also told, because they were in the transcendental platform, they were able to shift their nature and do it. Like Vishwamitra, being a Kshatriya by nature, was able to do the Brahmana, and Parshurama, having born as a Brahmana, was able to do the Kshatriya duties, because they were in the transcendental platform.
Yes, Mataji.
Hare
Okay. Who is our eternal enemy? Just a word, one word answer.
Lust.
Yeah. And the 3 degrees of the lust?
Oh God, what are the 3 degrees?
Examples, right?
Yeah, example. Yeah.
What is it compared to? Third degree, the highest is what? What is it compared to? In material world, what do we see? Which is displaying the maximum lust?
Smoke covered in a fire, which is for human.
Prabhu, Sairaj Prabhu, you are not audible. Hare Krishna. Sairaj Prabhu, your voice is not clear.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
So there are 3 degrees. One is smoke covered in a fire. So we can see the fire. Fire is small, still the heat is there. So it's like human consciousness. Second is dust covered with a mirror. We can still see the mirror, but the dust is thicker. It's like animals. And third is a embryo covered by a womb. So womb, the child inside the womb cannot move, and we cannot see the child also. So it's like the example given here was trees. Very, very little consciousness is there. 3 degrees of lust.
Yes. Yes.
How do you conquer the lust?
By
How
chanting the Lord's name.
So here,
Hare Krishna mantra.
3 stages were given.
Yes.
Three,
Yes.
mind, senses, mind, and intelligence. So to to conquer it, and soul is a supreme over there, which it should start from upward. Rather, yogis do it from downwards, and here in our as per our parampara, it is Krishna consciousness. It starts from top. So you start chanting Hare Krishna, your soul will wake up, and once the soul wakes up, it will give you spiritual intelligence. Once spiritual intelligence comes, your mind will become steady. Once the mind becomes steady, your senses are under control.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. Whereas yogis will start from
Bottom,
yeah,
control the
senses,
senses,
trances.
then goes for mind, then goes for intelligence, which is a much difficult task.
It will not stay long also. Okay. My last question also you answered. So I was about to ask about it. It's okay.
And one more thing, Krishna is telling that when should we start this process of control, conquering the lust? At what age?
Hare Krishna, from childhood, from the beginning, we should nip from the bud. That is from the right age of childhood.
Yeah, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of lust. And because it is the destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Thank you very much. I think all of you answered very nicely. I hope it's like a good revision for everyone. So stop now. I hope all of you are chanting at home.
Yes, Mataji.
Is that Deepti?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? Shall we stop now?
Saratvani Bhanuprasad, is it new today he came or? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Bhanuprasad Prabhu.
Oh, it must be.
Oh, I saw today. Okay.
Yeah, Saratvani. No, I'm wondering.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Sarva Vandya. Actually, I joined from my husband's ID. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sarva Vandya.
Okay, Mataji.
Well,
few couldn't come, Mataji. They had some reasons. I did call many, so they had few reasons. They had some engagements, other engagements, so they couldn't come. Few were traveling, so there are quite less today. 14 or 15 was that. Can we chant, Mataji, today?
This time now. Okay, we'll chant.
Okay.
Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita